My wife forgot our 10th anniversary. Because she was with another man, a shocking betrayal. After 2 hours of waiting past our 7 p.m. reservation, I finally accepted that my wife, Ashley, hadn't just forgotten our 10th anniversary. She hadn't even bothered to check her phone. The waiter approached with a look of quiet sympathy, the kind reserved for those stood up. "Mr. Collins, would you like me to wrap up the ring box?" I glanced at the velvet box holding the upgraded diamond she had been hinting about for months. Instead of answering, I asked, could I see the security footage from the staff entrance? His eyebrows lifted. Ashley had been coming here often for business lunches, always entering through the discreet side entrance because it was closer to her office. "Sir, I'm not sure." "Thomas, I've been coming here for 10 years. You catered my wedding." I pulled out my phone, showing the tracking app I'd installed last week after finding an unfamiliar receipt in her coat. "My wife is here right now, just not with me." He hesitated, then nodded. "Follow me." On the security feed, Ashley appeared exactly as expected, slipping in through the service entrance 40 minutes ago, giggling as her business partner guided her to a private dining room, his hand resting low on her back. Marcus Wheeler, the new VP of Sales, the man she'd been working late nights with for the past 3 months. "There, in the blue room," Thomas murmured. "It's a standing weekly reservation. Usually Thursdays, but Mr. Wheeler called this morning to change it to today. Said it was a special occasion. My anniversary. They were celebrating my anniversary in the restaurant that had catered my wedding." "The champagne they ordered?" I asked, keeping my voice steady. "Is it the same as what's on my table?" Thomas checked his tablet. "Yes, sir. Mrs. Collins always says it's her favorite." "Interesting," I mused, since she told me last week she developed an allergy to that brand. I stood, straightening my tie. "Thomas, I'm going to need a favor." "Of course, sir." "First, charge everything they order to my account. And I mean everything." He nodded, realization dawning in his eyes. "Second, I want you to deliver this to their table." I handed him the ring box. "Tell them it's compliments of the gentleman at table 12. "And you, sir?" I smiled, though there was no warmth in it. "I'll be at the bar. I want to see their faces when they realize their private celebration isn't so private anymore." Thomas timed it perfectly. From my vantage point, I watched as he approached just as Marcus poured their second glass of champagne. Ashley sat close to him, closer than any business dinner would justify, her wedding ring conspicuously absent. "Compliments of the gentleman at table 12, Thomas announced, setting the velvet box precisely between them. "He specifically requested you open it now." Ashley's face flickered with confusion, then recognition as she saw the jeweler's signature box. Her hands trembled as she reached for it. "Weird," Marcus said, irritated. "Must be a mistake." "No mistake, sir," Thomas replied smoothly. Mr. Collins was quite specific. The color drained from Ashley's face. "Tom?" "Yes, madam. Your husband is here. At table 12. Though I believe he's moved to the bar now. He thought you might prefer the view from there when you opened his anniversary gift." Marcus straightened his tie uncomfortably. "Anniversary?" "Yes, sir. 10 years today. We catered the wedding, actually. Mrs. Collins always requests the same champagne. Says it reminds her of their first toast as husband and wife." Ashley's hands shook as she lifted the lid. Instead of the diamond upgrade she'd been expecting, she found a USB drive and a stack of photos. Her and Marcus at various hotels. Time-stamped records of their business dinners. Credit card statements showing purchases she thought she had hidden. "Oh, and Mrs. Collins," Thomas added, "your husband asked me to remind you that your mother's birthday dinner is still on for Saturday, though he mentioned the guest list might need adjusting." Ashley's face crumpled as she realized the implications. Her mother adored me. Finding out about the affair, especially that she had skipped our anniversary for it, would devastate her. Marcus tried to salvage the situation. "Look, this is just a business dinner." "Of course, sir," Thomas replied. "Though our records show you've had this business dinner every Thursday for 3 months. Always with the same champagne. Always on Mr. Collins's corporate account." That was news to Ashley. She turned to Marcus, betrayal flickering in her eyes. "You've been charging our dates to his company card?" "Actually," I said, finally approaching their table, "he's been charging everything to my account. The hotels too. Amazing what corporate expense tracking software can find these days." Ashley looked stunned. "James, I can explain. The weekly hotel meetings? The champagne I'm supposedly allergic to? Or maybe how you forgot our anniversary to be with my biggest client." Marcus stood, puffing out his chest. Now, wait a minute. Sit down, Marcus, I cut in. Unless you want me to call your wife next. I'm sure she'd love to hear how you've been spending the consulting fees my company pays you. The private dining room fell eerily silent. Marcus sat back down, his bravado evaporating. Ashley stared at the photos, her carefully constructed world crumbling around her. The designer dress she wore. The one I just realized I had probably paid for. How long have you known? She whispered. Long enough to document everything, including the transfers from our joint account to your new private one. I turned to Marcus. The one you convinced her to open for your future together. His face went pale. You can't prove. Actually, I can. Your wife still uses my birthday as her password. The transfers align perfectly with your Thursday meetings. Almost like you were charging her for your time. Ashley's head snapped up. What transfers? I smiled coldly. Oh, he didn't tell you what happened to the money you've been moving? Show her your phone, Marcus. Show her where Herb retirement savings really went. Ashley's voice wavered. He said it was for our future home. The only thing he's been investing in is his gambling debt, which is why he's been charging everything to my corporate account. His credit cards were maxed out months ago. Thomas reappeared with a folder. The receipts you requested, Mr. Collins. All charges to your account from the past 6 months. Ashley grabbed the folder before Marcus could stop her. Her face crumpled as she saw the evidence. Hotel rooms, expensive dinners, jewelry she thought were gifts from him. All paid for with my company's money. You used him. Her voice broke. Used us. Baby, I can explain. Don't call her baby, I cut in. She's still my wife. I checked my watch. 12 more hours. My lawyer files the papers first thing tomorrow. Lawyer. Ashley went even paler. James, please, we can work this out. Like how you worked out stealing from our accounts. Or the credit card you took out in my name. Marcus tried to stand again. That was her idea. Sit down, I snapped. I'm not finished. The next 24 hours were a hurricane of consequences. Marcus was arrested before he could finish his creme brulee. The SEC had been waiting for more evidence. I was happy to provide it. Ashley tried to control the narrative, but I had prepared. Her family received everything, the photos, the bank statements, the texts. Her mother was horrified. You missed your anniversary dinner for him? Then came her father, with even worse news. The family trust she was set to inherit? It had a morality clause. You're cut off, he said flatly. The committee voted unanimously. Ashley collapsed into tears. I simply straightened my tie, left the restaurant, and moved forward without her.